You guys have been asking for it, and that is to break down some projects that could be in a heated race for the top of the crypto market. Well, we're going to do that today. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. And it's going to be a good one. You guys are not going to want to miss this episode. Before we even get started, just go ahead and hit the like button right now and subscribe to the channel. That's all we ask. Subscribe to the channel. Get in now, because I think we are about to enter a very interesting time in crypto. To start that off, you guys, if you're brand new, you're just out there searching and you're thinking, I'm going to get into this crypto thing, well, you're going to need an exchange, and you got to do that with Coinbase. Go over to coinbase.com. The future of money is here. The token we're going to be talking about today, the project, and along with it, you can actually get it on Coinbase. So start with Coinbase, and if you use our link down below, you get a $200 in crypto bonus. So it's a great place to get going. Let's go into a couple of points here. Today we'll be kind of lowering the boom on Sui. And that, of course, is coming in off of Grayscale's news officially launching a trust for the accredited investors. This is going to most likely bring in some pretty big money. Let me kind of zoom in on that right there. Backing Sui with around 916,000 in assets. Sui, of course, surged about 15% in the last 24. We saw a big move on this. If you're in our Diamond Circle, you guys have probably already known about this. It's been in my wallet for a while. And of course, if you're not in the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in, because it's a place where we do additional content. I reveal a lot more of what my portfolio is, all that good stuff. Check it out. We always leave a link down below. I want to show you something. This is a video showing the Sui network, which continues to fly. And I want to kind of show you something from, if you just scan down here, as you can see right there, August 10 through the 1920, you start to see a move here. And guess what? Boom, Sui, who is number 3 right there, pops into number 2 and is on the heels of Solana in terms of what we could see as the second largest non-EVM chain out there. And I think this is a big one, because it could start to put some pressure on Solana. One of the things to look at right here is Solana, and of course you have to look at the unlocks right here. You can kind of see 10 million a day. If you look at how this applies to the chart, in the past, it's pretty much held with it, but the unlocks are starting to spread out a little bit more, so you can start to see the chart differentiate between the token market cap and the price based on these unlocks. So that's a pretty significant scenario that has to play out within Solana and your decision of how to look at some of these chains. Another thing that's happening right now with Solana that I don't think a lot of people are happy about, and that was the issue of Breakpoint not giving a lot of the Solana games any airtime. And that's a big issue, because Solana was really kind of grew up as a gaming chain, and I think got maybe on the map because they were a gaming chain. Sure, they had a meme ecosystem. A lot has happened within Solana over the last 18 months to drive it to where it is right now, hovering around 135. So, but that is another issue that they had to actually address to the game companies, including one of the ones that we've had here on the show many times, and that, of course, is Star Atlas. Another thing that, of course, when you look at this, there's Siggy talking about this, Star Atlas, Breakpoint. Should Star Atlas be given time to present on the main stage? Breakpoint, this is what they're doing out there, because they're debating whether or not that they should get main stage time, and they should, without a doubt. I don't understand why Solana is doing that, but it is happening right there. And if you look at the debate note that they're putting in here, I thought this was interesting. The future of Web3 games will rely on L2s. This would be a significant deviation, I think, for what Solana has been about in terms of the gaming ecosystem. All right, so one of the reasons we are mentioning that many people are looking at Sui as a Solana, killer, of Sui, a Solana 2.0, whatever you want to look at. One of the things that they're tracking that is eerily similar is in the difference that they have a device. But if you think about Solana, they've got the Saga, the phone. But the key here, in just one day, more than 1,500 of the SUIplay, the OX1 devices, which is basically a gaming device for Web3 gaming, which is also going to do Web2 gaming, is launching. They sold 1,500 literally in the first couple of days. So it's a pretty big deal here in terms of the comparison. And the gaming opportunity, I think, is going to be pretty significant as well. Playtron, of course, the OS behind the SUIplay, is a pretty big partner. And of course, this is one I think will also have a factor into how many games are going to be able to make it into this. And this is why I think the gaming community, you look at the speed in which the token moves, cost very low to move the token, and then also just the opportunity, I think, of the gaming community and starting to integrate crypto Sui could be on the forefront of something pretty big. Here, of course, was a slide they were talking about. This is Square Enix saying that all compatible Square Enix games, including titles like Final Fantasy, will be available to purchase in cryptocurrency on the SUIplay console. And this is the handheld device. So that is pretty huge in the sense that we are starting to see a gaming community starting to integrate with a Web3 and crypto community. Big news out there. And of course, this is something we've been pretty much saying for quite some time. Playtron even went out with a statement here. False rumor that Playtron is partnering with Solana. Stop the nonsense. We love Sui and the Sui team. Carry on. So that's a pretty big deal in the sense that Solana, which was, I feel like, one of the leading gaming chains, has a situation now where they've started to pass the torch occur over with Sui. All right, so I want to jump to one other thing here, and this is in reference to gaming consoles, or in essence, the cost of what this takes to get some of these games into your hands. Well, PCs around $1,000. The new PS5 Pro is edging up to around $700. This is a big deviation from where the PS5 was. So rising costs right there. PS5, of course, $500, Xbox $500 abound, Steam Deck. This is about where the Sui device falls in. So it gets much more appropriate, even if you go into the Xbox S series, and then you get into things like the Switch or the Switch Lite. So mobile gaming and also gaming that is going to be cloud-based is going to be significant going forward. And that is where, of course, we will see Sui, I think, start to excel. Gamescom GeForce now brings Black Myth. This, of course, was the Wukong game that we've seen kind of trending in a variety of different pop culture scenes. Even Elon carried this as his icon. But the point that I'm getting at here is that this is a mobile device game that is going to be available. There's Final Fantasy right there, available on things like what we will see with this device. One of the reasons that you're going to see this continue to excel is because of the idea of cloud gaming. Now, cloud gaming in the past was not necessarily considered as a big strategy going forward. This is starting to change quite a bit. If you look at some of the things right here, as expected, this will accelerate. China approves 117 games, the most in 2024, including the Wukong Mania. And this, of course, has been around the fact that a lot of the gamers in China do not have access to desktop devices, PS5s, those kind of things. They have access to mobile. So mobile is going to become the iconic, and this is something we talked about for years, is that mobile gaming will be the new. Now, the real question is whether or not cloud gaming will be the new, and I think that's where Sui starts to play into this. Here's Playtron talking about cloud gaming has exploded just in the last few weeks due to the Wukong phenomenon, and of course, that is, I think, going to be very viral around the world, and I think we're going to see it not only here in the US, but also in Asia, the EU, and I think even the Middle East. So get ready for some pretty big moves right here. Wukong Play is epic. You can kind of see, I'm just showing the example of the game. This is a cloud game streaming within that device, which is pretty significant. Of course, just the quality of it, I think, is one of the things that's going to draw this in. Other things that are happening, if you just look at the active accounts that are starting to move on Sui, this is on the 3-month. Look at the growth that we've already started to see here. So Sui's in a pretty good spot right now. Average transaction fees in August. Again, Sui 0.019 versus what has been one of the best out there, Solana at 0.02. And then even if you look at transaction fees on Avalanche, around 0.14. ETH not doing too bad at $1.84. But the point is, it's a chain that is very efficient and very inexpensive to run. So there are some fears out there. I think one of the things that people were looking at is, are we going to see a lot of unlocks? And this gets into the metrics, token metrics of how some of these things move. And I think initially that was the case, but not necessarily long term. If you look at what the potential of unlocks are in their vesting schedule, this goes all the way out to 2030. So you can see it's a very gradual process. We're not seeing any radical unlocks. So again, this should rest good if you're looking at token metrics as the key element of why you buy a token. Here's the circulating supply, same kind of scenario right there on the Series A, all the way into their Miston Labs Treasury, which is the team behind Sui. So we definitely are going to have the Sui team on the show coming up. So it'll be a big interview. We'll get a chance to really break down what the project is doing. This, of course, over here on token unlocks, and you can kind of see as it stair steps, this is only 2% per month on the supply. So this is a very, very easy move for Sui in terms of the metrics behind this. One of the things to note here is Sui's speed, 6 times faster than Solana. And remember that FireDancer was kind of the holy grail for Solana. That, of course, is being announced now at Breakpoint, even though it was announced last year. But this is already happening with Sui's chain right now. So speed, capacity, growth, back to the gaming ecosystem, and the need for transactions, Sui would be able to handle that. So that's a pretty significant thing. Here's a good example right here on the performance. Latency continuing to be one of the better performing chains out there. And if you look at just the status in terms of outages and versus partial outages, there's Solana with a lot of outages, yes. There goes into Ton. Aptos, which I think is probably going to get annihilated by Sui. And then, of course, Sui, mainnet right there, none. No outages, no partial outages. So very significant in terms of the quality of the chain itself. Also, the other thing that is very interesting to me, we're going to find out more about this, but this is where it gets intriguing. This could be an internetless transaction. Sounds like something only possible with Sui. Now, the idea is to utilize technology that's outside the internet. I know many people will look at that, well, that could be IoT, certain kinds of radio transmissions, etc. But the point is, a lot of these emerging countries, they don't necessarily have internet. So this could be a very, very good possibility for some of those markets like that. And also just for security purposes. But here is Sui's blockchain as they tap radio waves to the bank and unbank the offline. So I think this is a big deal. Again, long distance radio and even compressing transactions in such a small way that it can fit in a smaller thing like a text message. This is pretty cool tech. And I think this is one of those things that starts to break into markets and can also change how dynamic financing is done, especially around what we will see in the unbanked markets out there, which is a huge part of the population of the world. Sui's also already tested this method and it's already working. So again, more tech advancement with what they were doing. Here's some more tech that has dropped today. This is launching decentralized Uber for 3D printing for Sui. And this is a pretty big deal because you're look at the size of 3D printers right there. Let me kind of zoom in on that. 24,000 3D printed NFTs were minted within a week since the launch. And this is just since September the 9th. So look at the potential for this down the road, especially around 3D printers, again, tying back in. All right, so I want to go over to a clip real quick. And this clip is ARK Investment talking about 3D printing and its market size. Take a look.
We think that 3D printing could scale at a 40% annual rate to $180 billion by 2030. 3D printing is used across industries today that total more than $4 trillion in revenue. And while it takes education, time for adoption, and sometimes regulatory clearance to use the technology, we're seeing it being used more and more in cases like automotive manufacturing, where it lowers costs, time to production, and ultimately produces better parts.
All right, so what she's pointing out is the cost. And the opportunity here is decentralized potentials, which is all of crypto, and especially if it lines up around Sui. So 3D printing could get decentralized in a way, much like Render is for cloud compute, etc. We could see that kind of DPIN designed around Sui. So just keep an eye on this technology as it ties into that market because it could be a big one. Now, everybody asked me, all right, well, Sui's a chain that competes with Solana. We haven't necessarily, but remember, Solana had a ton of meme coins that kind of helped Phantom in that wallet explode, also helped the chain explode itself. I think it probably really started accelerating Solana from around 30 bucks to where it is today at around 130. But remember, Solana hit 200 not too long ago. So what could be the opportunity maybe moving within the Sui blockchain around some of these meme tokens? Well, one that we're watching is, of course, a little project called BLUB. And again, this is just meme tokens out there. So just look at the other ecosystem around tokens when it comes to memes. Doge, Pepe, kind of the leaders. Then you get into the Solana meme coins, the Avalanche meme coins, the Tron meme coins. You start to see these transactions start to slide into chains. And of course, Sui has been one that has not necessarily been on point here. So maybe this is a chance. So check out BLUB. Now, the way that you would get to this token, if you decided to get it, you got to go over and get this Sui wallet. And you'll be able to download this on your iPhone or your Android. But it's pretty sexy, actually. I've used the wallet. Very easy to log in. you'll want to jump over to these apps right here. And these apps basically get you access to these DEXs, and that's where you'd be able to dive into some of this. You do have to transfer Sui to get there, pretty much costless if you're using something like Coinbase. So I want to jump over to CoinMarketCap just to show you this fully diluted here on Sui at around 10 billion. You slide up here and you get into even Solana setting at around 78 billion. So there's an opportunity. I'm going to zoom in on that for you so you can kind of see. Then if we go in and sort by market volume, and you take a look at where Solana is right now, running at around 1.5, Sui is the next major chain that jumps in. Now, granted, it's a third of that, but this is the next major chain that is trading in terms of market volume outside of the big three. So this again gets back into the point of watching this token in a very interesting time. A lot happening around it. Again, just make sure and check it out, see what you guys think about it. If you're, by the way, if you're not in our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in. It's our great place to get additional content where we do breakdowns like this ahead of what we do here on the YouTube channel. And all you have to do is hit the link down below and you can join. And it's free. It's very easy to. Follow me on X at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.